I have met people with no money who felt richer than millionaires, and I have met millionaires who still lived like frightened children. That contradiction used to puzzle me. It does not puzzle me anymore. Because the truth is that money does not simply magnify your choices. It magnifies your relationship with yourself. If your inner world is built on fear, shame, scarcity, panic, comparison, and the old wound that says you are beneath other people, then more money will not necessarily free you. It may only give your fear a nicer address. It may upgrade the prison. It may buy you a better seat on the plane, while your nervous system still thinks disaster is one bill away. It may fill your accounts while leaving your chest tight, your sleep restless, your spending anxious, and your entire relationship with abundance twisted. That is why so many people feel confused by money. They think the problem is only how to get more. They do not realize the deeper problem is how they have learned to feel about it. I have watched this happen again and again. A person says he wants wealth, he says he wants freedom, he says he wants a richer life. And then, when money actually comes, he recoils, he hoards, he feels guilty, he overspends recklessly. He cannot enjoy it, he cannot keep it, he cannot receive it, he cannot give it without panic. He cannot see opportunities clearly because his money story is older than his strategy. That money story is where almost everything begins. People like to pretend they invented themselves fresh. They did not. They inherited emotional habits around money the way they inherited language, tension, and ways of arguing. They learned from what their parents feared. They learned from what their parents fought about. They learned from what was said at the dinner table when bills arrived. They learned from the quiet comments made in the car after visiting somebody with a nicer house. They learned from the humiliation of wanting what classmates had and not having it. They learned from the strange family beliefs that rich people must be crooked, or poor people must be pure, or money must always be hard, or asking for more is greedy, or people with abundance are somehow less moral than people with lack. I have seen all of those stories, and they are expensive stories, because beliefs dictate behavior. That line from your source material is worth engraving somewhere permanent. If a person believes money is bad, that people who make it must be shady, that good people should not want much, that having wealth means becoming corrupt, then he will behave in ways that protect those beliefs. He will undercharge. He will avoid learning. He will reject he will sabotage momentum. He will make just enough to confirm the identity he already carried. Then he will call it fate. It is not fate. It is loyalty to an old story. That is why awareness must come first. Not spreadsheets first, not hustle first, not what stock should I buy first. Awareness first. How do you feel when money enters your life? How do you feel when you open the banking app? How do you feel when you pay the rent? How do you feel when you look at a person with more? How do you feel when you imagine asking for more? The file is right to begin there. Notice your breathing. Notice whether your body tightens. Notice whether you feel shame, scarcity, panic, resentment, inferiority, or numbness. People treat these questions as soft, but they are not soft. They are diagnostic. If your nervous system treats money like danger, then you are not going to build a peaceful relationship with it merely by learning one more tactic. Your tactics will keep getting hijacked by your emotional architecture. I understand this very well. When I was young, I knew what it felt like to be a little beneath. Not destitute, not starving, but below, close enough to comfort to see it, far enough from it to feel its denial. Other kids had things you did not have. Other families moved with more ease than yours did. You learn from that. You may tell yourself you are fine, and perhaps you are. But part of you also begins collecting evidence that wealth belongs more naturally to other people. That is a dangerous education, because later in life, when the chance to build something real finally appears, part of you still thinks you are the person who stands just outside the gate. Some people respond to that by becoming desperate. Money becomes something they chase with stress, speed, and emotional hunger. They do not want wealth, they want relief. That is a different pursuit entirely. Relief money is usually clumsy money. It is, please let this solve the feeling. It is crypto because other people got rich. It is the trip on the card because you need one good memory. It is the giant purchase because finally you will feel like you arrived. It is the whole emotional fantasy of a quick fix. I have seen people burn years trying to make easy money quickly because they were in pain, and pain hates patience. The source document is very good on this point. Quick money almost always seduces with speed and then punishes with ignorance. You jump into something you do not understand, and the speed at which you win is often the speed at which you lose. Other people respond in the opposite direction. They hoard, they finally learn how to make money, and then they cannot relax around it. They stuff it into accounts and do not let it serve them. They sit in the cheapest seat, they sleep on couches, they stare at the balances and still feel poor. The outside has changed, the inside has not. That is another prison, and it is one the public does not recognize well because on paper the person is doing fine. On paper he may be doing wonderfully, but emotionally he is still on his sister's couch. He is still terrified to fall back into the place where he once felt helpless. The file captures that beautifully too. You can have money in the bank and still be trapped by your money personality style. That is why the real work is deeper than earnings alone. You have to heal the relationship. And healing begins, oddly enough, not with grasping harder, but with becoming more generous. That sounds paradoxical to people who are broke. They hear the word generosity and think it belongs to the rich. They think generosity is what you do once the numbers are fixed. They think, how can I be generous when I am stressed, in debt, scared, behind, and not sure how to pay for the next month? I understand that reaction. It is completely natural. It is also exactly why the idea matters so much. The source file makes one of the strongest arguments in the whole conversation, when it says the way out of helplessness is helpfulness. That line is worth sitting with. Helplessness, therefore I must take. Helpfulness says, I may have little, but I can still add value. Those two positions produce radically different lives. The helpless person keeps staring at his emptiness. The helpful person begins scanning for contribution. What can I offer? What skill? What energy? What curiosity? What warmth? What labor? What small act of usefulness? What problem can I help solve? That shift looks tiny from the outside. It is enormous on the inside. It changes identity from passive victim to active participant. And money follows usefulness more reliably than it follows desperation. I do not say that romantically. I say it because I have watched it. A young man with no money but energy, curiosity, passion, and willingness to serve enters a room full of tired, wealthy, powerful people. They do not only notice his arfe-some-fe, they notice his aliveness. The source gives two fantastic real-world examples of this. A hostess who brought such energy, care, and thoughtful recommendation that people immediately wanted to hire her. A creative person who offered value first before asking for anything and ended up building relationships and opportunities out of that generosity. That is not mystical. That is economic. Passion is currency. Energy is currency. Curiosity is currency. Presence is currency. The world is full of exhausted people who have money but no joy. They are drawn to people who bring life. They are drawn to people who help without immediate extraction. They are drawn to those who can solve something, improve something, clarify something, energize something. The poor person who thinks he has nothing to give is often wrong. He may have no cash. He may still have enormous value. Now, let us be honest. Value does not always pay immediately. That is where immature people get. They help once and expect fate to spit out a check. Sometimes it does not. Sometimes generosity builds the bridge first and the money later. The source tells that story clearly. Doing the interview was not paid. The effort itself did not hand back cash on the day, but it built relationships, trust, visibility, and eventually an entire platform that became far more valuable than the immediate fee would have been. This is one of the deepest financial truths I know. Short-term unpaid value can become long-term paid positioning. Only mature people understand that. Immature people are always asking, what do I get right now? Mature people are willing to ask, what am I building? That does not mean become a martyr. It means stop believing that money only appears through direct, immediate, obvious exchange. Sometimes money comes because trust was built. Sometimes because someone saw your competence. Sometimes because your energy made people want to keep you close. Sometimes because usefulness created reputation. Those things matter far more than people think, especially when you are starting from very little. Another dangerous lie the poor are fed is that money is hard by nature. Not money is difficult right now. Not this season is hard. That belief seeps into the bones. It turns every opportunity into a struggle before the first move is even made. The source material is very clear that the aim is not easy money quick, but make money easy by building the inner capacity to receive, the skills to create value, and the systems to channel opportunity. That distinction is everything. Easy money quick is fantasy. The first one chases hacks. The second one develops skills, courage, and confidence. I like the source's formulation here very much. Invest in courage, invest in skills that create confidence. Because confidence becomes its own currency. A person who learns a skill, practices it, and starts seeing evidence of competence behaves differently in the market. He asks for more. He enters bigger rooms. He offers more clearly. He takes opportunities he would once have avoided. The inner shift becomes outer value. That is how wealth often really begins. Not with cash, with courage. A great many fortunes start as a season of doing work you do not want to do forever. The source says this directly as well. There are seasons. You may not love outreach, LinkedIn profile work, freelance work, or service work. Fine. But if those are the skills that create runway, then that season is not beneath you. It is building you. I have enormous respect for people who can understand seasons. They do not confuse a temporary role with a permanent identity. They are willing to use one set of skills to fund the dream that will come later. They do not stand around pouting because the first rung of the ladder is not already their ideal life. That maturity is rare. It is also valuable. Now let us turn to something that many spiritual people, kind people, and service-oriented people struggle with deeply. The belief that money and goodness do not belong together. I have heard variations of this for years. Rich people must be corrupt. Good people stay poor. Wanting money makes you selfish. If I have money, people will think I hurt someone to get it. These beliefs are devastating because they split the self in two. The person wants impact, freedom, safety, maybe even beauty, but he also wants to remain morally clean, so he unconsciously creates a ceiling. Enough to survive, maybe enough to feel noble, maybe, but not enough to threaten the story that goodness and abundance must stay apart. That split needs healing. Because money is not character, money is a tool. And if you are good, generous, awake, and service-minded, then you are exactly the kind of person who should understand it well. The world needs more decent people with resources, not fewer. It needs more people who can fund meaningful work, help families, tip generously, build ethical businesses, support causes, and make beautiful things possible. Scarcity does not purify a soul. It often just keeps a good person exhausted. That is why generosity is so important. It proves to you that money and goodness can live in the same house. The wealthy people I respect most are often the ones who speak of giving as part of the engine, not as some charitable decoration added after the game is won. The source material says that many ultra-successful people make more when they give more, not because the universe is a vending machine, but because generosity keeps the heart open, keeps the relationship to money healthy, and prevents wealth from turning into spiritual constipation. And there are many forms of giving: time, attention, energy, introduction, encouragement, skill, money itself, yes, when possible. But the deeper point is that the abundant person is not defined only by what sits in his bank account. He is defined by the quality of his relationship to life. The file says that plainly, a high net worth does not mean you are free. Freedom is internal first. That does not mean money does not matter. Of course it matters. It means money alone cannot fix an identity built on fear and self-rejection. I have known people with hundreds of millions who were miserable. I have known people with little who were luminous. That should tell us something. What it tells me is that the rich life is not simply expensive. It is congruent. It is a life where your inner world, your values, your character, your way of giving, and your way of receiving are not at war with one another. That does not happen automatically when income rises. It happens when you do the work. That work includes something very Respect the Source has a beautiful exercise where money is imagined as a person walking into the room. How would you treat it? Would you avoid eye contact, gossip behind its back, use it, abuse it, and ghost it? Or would you greet it with care, gratitude, and clarity? That sounds playful, but it cuts deep. Because many people do have exactly that abusive relationship with money. They ignore it when it is around, panic when it is gone, chase it when they are desperate, resent it when others have it, use it when it arrives, disappear when it wants structure. Then they wonder why the relationship feels chaotic. No healthy relationship survives contempt. That includes the relationship with money. Respect does not mean worship, it means attention. It means gratitude, it means honesty, it means saying thank you when money comes in and thank you when it leaves for something meaningful. Ken Honda's exercise in the Source is wonderful for this reason. Receive with thanks. Spend with thanks. Let money become conscious instead of automatic, panicked, or numb. That is not childish. It is training attention. And attention changes behavior. A person who says thank you to money when it arrives becomes more likely to direct it. A person who says thank you when paying a phone bill becomes more likely to see what the bill supports instead of only the irritation of paying it. A person who sees pennies and treats them with respect is not being silly. He is rehearsing receptivity. He is telling the nervous system that value is welcome here. That matters because receptivity is one of the most neglected wealth skills in the world. Some people can create value but cannot receive. Others can receive but cannot keep. Others can keep but cannot enjoy. Others can enjoy but cannot give. A truly healthy money relationship asks for all four. Create, receive, keep, give. If one of those functions is broken, the whole structure distorts. And I think a lot of people listening need permission to admit that they are not only trying to make money, they are trying to feel safe, they are trying to feel worthy, they are trying to stop the old story that says everyone else is above them. They are trying to stop repeating family pain. They are trying to become the kind of person who can hold abundance without guilt, fear, or self-erasure. That is noble work, and it is why this subject deserves more respect than the internet usually gives it. This is not just about hacks. It is not just about the next stock. It is not just about the perfect side hustle. It is not just about the next check. It is about becoming internally capable of holding a richer life. That richer life will likely require ordinary practical things too. Skills, systems, better rooms, more courageous asks, better use of time, fine. All of that matters. But if you do all of it while still secretly believing you are unworthy, bad for wanting more, or destined to stay a little beneath, then your own beliefs will keep collecting their tax. This is why I would tell anyone who feels broke, ashamed, stuck behind, or scared to begin with two questions. What is my money story, and how do I become more helpful? The first question reveals the wound. The second begins the cure. Once you know the story, you can stop calling it reality. Once you become helpful, you stop waiting only to be rescued. And from there, skills can be built. Courage can be built. Confidence a future can be built. That is the path, not instant wealth, not a lucky escape, not pretending pain does not exist. Awareness, healing, helpfulness, skill, direction, abundance that begins inside and then earns the right to become visible outside. That is how I would tell it. And if I had to leave one final line with anyone still trapped in the old money pain, it would be this. Your bank account may be empty. That does not mean you are empty. And if you learn to stop hating yourself for where you are, stop worshiping quick fixes, stop repeating the story that money belongs to bad people, and start becoming useful with courage and generosity, then one day you may look around and realize that what first became rich was not your account. It was you. And once that happens, the money often has a much easier time finding its way in.